On behalf of all of Radha Gopinath Temple devotees, we welcome you to our Sunday festival. Today, I am seeing devotees from so many places have assembled. From Pune, Kolhapur, Nigri, Nasik, Satara, Belgaum, Bombay. This really is a very sacred tradition of our acharyas, that devotees come together from various places to perform Nam Sankirtan, to hear Harikatha, to take prasad together, to associate together, to serve together. We all know the famous story of the first Gaur Purnima festival, celebrated in Kaituri, which is today in Bangladesh. It was inspired by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself after he had disappeared from this world. Narotam Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, and Shyamananda Prabhu, they arranged for this wonderful festival, and devotees came from all directions. Practically whatever devotees there were coming, like rivers to the ocean of Kaituri Gram. The presiding senior-most person was Janava Devi, the consort of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. After establishing the Gaur Purnima festival, every year, on the full moon of the month of Palgun, Gaur Purnima, the same festival was celebrated in Kaituri, in the temple of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Narotam Das Thakur and the whole town would make all arrangements. There would be massive kirtan. One time, during this Gaur Purnima festival, there were thousands of people, all anticipating Narotam Das Thakur's Sankirtan performance. As Narotam Das Thakur began to sing, his heart was deeply affected by Krishna's holy name, by Krishna's holy qualities. And he began to, Mahajuti Prabhu, if you like, please sit here. Come. Whatever makes you happy, but we'll be happy if you come here.
You have already interrupted the Krishna Katha.
Let us enthusiastically welcome Mahajuti Prabhu to our temple. So we are in Kaituri Gram for one of the subsequent annual Gaur Purnima festivals. Narotam Das Thakur was singing about Radha and Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. He was singing according to the poems of the great Vaishnav Chandidas, one of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most favorite. As he was describing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, because of his sincere absorption, because of his very deep, profound intention to please the Lord and to please all the Vaishnavas, something very mystical took place. His voice became so sweet. He already had the sweetest voice of anyone in the world. But on this day, because of his sincere intention, Radha and Krishna appeared through that sound vibration in such a way that his voice was absolutely intoxicating. Devotees were swooning to hear the sweetness of his voice and the content of what he was singing. It was irresistible. In fact, it was so irresistible that Radha and Krishna themselves could not resist. Being affected so deeply by the love of Narotam Das Thakur, suddenly, in front of everyone, Radharani and Gopinath appeared in their original transcendental forms right in the center of the kirtan hall. They emitted such light, brilliant light, that illuminated all the four directions. Devotees were weeping, they were crying, they were intoxicated with love. They were having the darshan of Radha Gopinath. It appeared like a dark cloud entwined by lightning. And from their bodies, a fragrance filled the entire atmosphere. And when devotees were seeing Radha and Krishna, tasting them in the sound of Narotam Das Thakur's voice through their ears, smelling their fragrance, tasting their holy names, chanting through their mouths, it was inconceivable, indescribable. Ramchandra Kaviraj and Narotam Das Thakur, they were beside themselves in ecstatic love, chanting and chanting. Suddenly Radha Gopinath disappeared. And Narotam Das Thakur fell to the ground unconscious, in separation from what he has just seen. And Ramchandra Kaviraj was lamenting very much and trying to bring Narotam Das Thakur back to his consciousness. This was the type of kirtans that were happening among these great devotees. And this also is living historical testimony of how the Lord responds to our devotion. And how the Lord empowers us according to our intentions. Tatra tishtami narada yatra gayanti mad bhakta. The Lord sometimes takes everything away from his devotees, but only to give the devotees himself, the highest treasure, like we have been reading about Gajendra. And the Lord also explains to Narada Muni that wherever my devotees are so sincerely surrendering to me, by coming together and sharing their devotion by chanting the holy names, That is where I reside. That is where you will always find me. Every year, for the Chaturmasya season, devotees from all different directions would come to Jagannath Puri to be together with Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there they celebrated so many festivals. But actually every day and every moment was a festival. Devotees do not require something on the calendar in order to have a festival. Krishna appears. He appears wherever we're chanting His holy name sincerely. So devotees every day are celebrating Krishna's appearance. One particular year, may I describe? Thank you. One particular year, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while living in Puri, during his Antya Lila, attracted devotees to come from all different places, especially from Bengal. Kulinagram, Srikanda, Navadvip, Shantipur, all of these places. And the devotees would regularly cook special prasad just for the Lord's satisfaction. Especially Raghava Pandit and his sister Damayanti. They would cook so much prasad and put it in special bags. It took 3 strong men to carry it. And they had to carry it hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, all the way from Panihati to Puri. Has anybody ever walked that? Raghava Pandit and Damayanti, they would cook in such a way that so many preparations, delicious preparations. But Kaviraj Goswami explains how the Lord extracts the intention from the devotee's heart. After making so many bags of very, very delicious bhoga with ghee and spices and so many things, then Damayanti would make a preparation called sukata, which was extremely bitter. There were dry, very, very bitter leaves in that preparation. Her intention was that the Lord would take all this other food and then he would get indigestion and too much acidity. Now, the Lord, Krishna showed Arjuna the Virat Rupa, and he was eating everything, and he didn't get acidity. But this is the emotion of a devotee. Damayanti her devotion is so great. She's thinking of Lord Chaitanya. She knows he's God, but still she's thinking of him like an ordinary person, out of love. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would accept the love. When he would eat those dry, very bitter leaves in the shukata, it was like nectar to him. He would be in ecstasy. It tasted so ambrosially sweet because he was tasting the intention of Damayanti, who simply wanted keep him in good health and make him happy. So they were carrying these. Actually, Damayanti, she would take all the preparations and put them in bags, cloth bags, no plastic. Put them in cloth bags. And she'd seal it very, very carefully so it would be preserved. Then she would take the small bags and put them in larger bags and seal those. Shivananda Sen, with his family, would arrange for the whole excursion from Bengal to Puri. With great, great efforts to please all the devotees. This particular year, when the day they happened to arrive in Sri Puri Dham, it was the boat festival at Narendra Sarovar, where the Vijay Murti of Lord Jagannath comes out of the temple on procession to this lake called Narendra, and there is a special boat. It's only used once a year. And that deity named Govinda would be put on the boat, and he would be taken all around the lake. There would be artis and so many flower offerings and bhoga offerings, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just so happy to worship the deity of the Lord. And when he saw, as he was standing there at Narendra Sarovar, all the devotees, hundreds and about 400 of them, they all came right to that place, hearing that the Lord was there. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he embraced them. He offered them garlands, he offered them sandalwood. And after receiving them with such gratitude and love, he would raise his arms and induce them all to chant the holy names. And they were chanting and chanting. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so enthusiastic to see the Govinda sailing around this lake on this nice decorated boat. Lord Chaitanya couldn't control himself. He jumped in the lake. And it's a pretty deep lake, actually. And then all the 400 devotees jumped in the lake. And as they were all in the lake together, just their eyes gazing upon the beautiful form of Govinda, enjoying a boat pastime. Narendra Sarovar was like the Yamuna River. And they were all watching the Vrindavan pastimes with great happiness. They all loudly called out the holy name. What a beautiful reunion. Together, celebrating the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. This is Vaishnava culture. As the festival ended, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought all the devotees. He brought them to his own place, the Gambira, and arranged sumptuous Jagannath prasad for everyone. He fed everyone to their full satisfaction. Then, according to the year before, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally arranged rooms, accommodations for all the devotees who came, along with Kashi Mishra and King Prataparudra and other devotees were involved in making sure everyone was nicely accommodated. So Lord Chaitanya arranged the very same rooms for them again this year. The next morning, early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his devotees for the darshan of Jagannath in the temple. When Lord Chaitanya saw Lord Jagannath, after a long time, it was first darshan after a long time because he was in his seclusion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees gazed upon the beautiful form of Jagannath. And then Lord Chaitanya, in the Jagan Mohan, the kirtan hall, he divided the devotees into 7 groups to perform Nam Sankirtan. Each group had a lead singer, each group had a lead dancer. Some of the lead dancers were Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, Srivas Thakur, Vakreshwar Pandit, Narahari, Satyaraj Khan. And each group had many mridangas and many kartals. And he induced them all to chant. Then Lord Chaitanya was going to each group to inspect each one of them. And each of them was considering that Lord Chaitanya is only with us. He was actually inspecting each group. But he did it in such a mystical way that each of the kirtan parties were thinking the Lord is just staying with us. He's not going to any of the others. Can you imagine the tumultuous sound as each of them were personally, for the pleasure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the presence of Lord Jagannath, playing on their mridangas and the kartals and other instruments, loudly chanting the holy names? It filled all the directions. This went on for some time. Then the Lord became so inspired, he personally began to dance. He was remembering a verse that was often sung in kirtan by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Before beginning his dance, he folded his palms and he recited that verse. Let my head fall down at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath in his kirtan hall called Jagan Mohan. Thinking like that, he began to dance. He raised his arms. He turned to everyone and cried, "Chant, chant!" All the directions. It appeared that the entire universe was being filled with the chanting of the holy names. At that time, all 7 groups merged into one in a circle around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How he danced. Everybody around him, according to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, were floating in his tears. His hairs were standing on end like the thorns of a shimuli tree. His body was simultaneously, from every pore of his body were perspiration and blood in ecstasy. His limbs were trembling. Sometimes he would fall unconscious. Sometimes he would be very light, other times very heavy. He was completely immersed in an internal state of consciousness, absorbed in the chanting of the holy names. A few days ago we celebrated Radhastami. Lord Chaitanya was exhibiting the symptoms of Radha's love for Krishna. Radha Bhavaduti Subalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna who has come to taste the sweetness of Radha's love and who has accepted the complexion of Srimati Radharani. This was a dance inundating everyone with prema, or love of God. He was dancing and dancing so ecstatically. And he kept inducing everyone to dance and everyone to chant. It went on hour after hour. From early morning, now it was mid-afternoon. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was still dancing. Finally, Nityananda Prabhu could see that the devotees were completely exhausted. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was beyond time. He was in the spiritual world. So somehow or other, Nityananda Prabhu stopped all the mridanga players except one. He stopped all the chanters and just had Swarup Damodar Goswami singing a very slow, soft kirtan with very slow, soft accompaniment. And when all the tumultuousness of the kirtan disappeared, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back to his external consciousness. And he brought all his devotees to the sea, and they all bathed together while chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. He then arranged prasad for all the devotees, and he took prasad with them. Now it's late afternoon. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back to his residence, Gambhira. Now, according to the tradition, every day after Lord Chaitanya would take prasad, Govinda would massage his feet and his legs. And then, after doing so, Govinda would personally take Lord Chaitanya's remnants himself. But he would fast until he performed his service thoroughly. On this day, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was literally dancing in ecstasy from early morning till mid-afternoon in the temple of Jagannath, he just laid down in such a way that he blocked the entire door going into Gambhira. Govinda could not massage him without coming into the room. But how could he walk over the Lord's body? That was impossible. So Lord Chaitanya was laying there, and Govinda, his personal assistant, with folded palms, humbly requested, "My Lord, please, just roll over a little bit so that I can come into the room to massage you. That is my service." Lord Chaitanya replied, "I am so tired that I cannot move my body." What to do? Govinda again requested, "My Lord, please, just move a few inches so I could get in." The Lord's reply, "I cannot move my body." Govinda requested again and again, "Just roll a little." "I can't walk over you, my Lord." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "Do it or don't do it. Whatever is the intention of your mind." Those were his last words. Then he fell asleep. So what Govinda did is he took an outer garment of Lord Chaitanya and placed it over Lord Chaitanya's body. Then very carefully, he stepped over the Lord's body to get into the room and massaged his feet, massaged his legs, massaged his back, very softly and carefully. 45 minutes passed. Then Lord Chaitanya came into external consciousness. He woke up and he saw Govinda sitting beside him. And Lord Chaitanya appeared angry. He said, "What are you doing sitting here? Every day after you massage me, you go and take prasad. Why haven't you taken prasad? Why are you sitting here?" Govinda said, "Because you're blocking the doorway, so I couldn't walk over you." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, he said, "Well, why didn't you go out the same way you came in?" Govinda was silent, but he was thinking in his mind. And the Lord, who is within the heart, hears what we think. Be careful. He hears what you say. He sees what you do. But he hears your every thought. Govinda was thinking. In order to perform service to you, my Lord, I am willing to commit hundreds and thousands of offenses. In order to serve you, my Lord, I am willing to suffer endlessly or even go to hell. But for my own purposes or my own sense enjoyment, I am extremely afraid even to commit the slightest trace of an offense. This was his mood. To serve the Lord, he was willing to go to hell and commit any offenses, but for himself, he would never. Impossible. He would rather starve and die. Chaitanya Charitamrita explains how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally engineered this pastime. Now, many of you are engineering students. Krishna's the original engineer. He's engineering everything. And in this case, he engineered this pastime just to reveal to the world the glories of his devotees. What was the mind of Govinda? And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains how subtle the etiquette of the Vaishnavas is. Some people who are in an external state of devotion are very much attached to regulative principles and rituals. But a more serious and mature devotee understands that we should follow the regulative principles very carefully, and the rituals should be done nicely. But essentially, it's all for the purpose of pleasing the Lord. The Lord is accepting our intention. He is accepting the purpose. Samsiddhir haritoshanam. Whatever we do, its success is to the degree it pleases So sometimes for the purpose of pleasing the Lord may even, or a devotee may make some offense or not follow the ritual exactly as it's supposed to be. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he cites an example of how one, in a famous poem in Sanskrit, how the wife, steeped in great love, she offered her husband a garland. But she didn't realize that the garland was covered with mud. So it was a muddy garland. There was mud all over the husband. But because she offered it with such affection, the husband was completely satisfied. He didn't see the mud. He saw the devotion. Srila Prabhupada, at the beginning of his Srimad Bhagavatam, his humility, he quotes a particular verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, that if one is praising the Lord, even if that praise is not composed properly in grammar, even if there are many actual, literal defects in it, because of the sincerity and the purpose, it is considered glorious by those who are self-realized. So Prabhupada is saying, although this presentation of a translation and purports of Srimad Bhagavatam may have mistakes and defects, that is his humility. Still, it's being done with a sincere intention, and the Lord accepts it. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was living in Navadvip, his own Gurudev, Ishwarapuri, he asked him, please edit my book. And Nimai Pandit said, how could I edit your book? You're a pure devotee. Whatever a pure devotee says is perfect. If anybody sees mistakes and flaws in it, that's their condemned state of consciousness, because you're glorifying Krishna. Krishna sees the intention. Ishwarapuri was so happy that Lord Chaitanya was glorifying pure devotional service in this way. But he said, still, the common people, please edit this book. Prabhupada wrote the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in Radha Damodar Temple, which is the actual place of Krishna's Rasa Leela in Vrindavan. The place where Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami are eternally residing, in the ecstasies of his love for his Guru, for Krishna, Radharani, and for all living beings. He made those translations and purports. And he came to America. And he met Hayagriva Prabhu, I think Rai Ramananda. And they were educated young men who, a few weeks before had no Vaishnava culture whatsoever. They weren't following any regulative principles. But then they started doing. Prabhupada said, he said to Hayagriva Prabhu, you are an English professor? Could you help edit something of mine? So he gave Hayagriva paper, and then Hayagriva brought it back. He said, would you mind doing some more? And Hayagriva Prabhu said, thought he would get another piece of paper. He said, sure. Prabhupada opened up trunks of manuscripts. Dozens of piles of manuscripts wrapped up. and said, "Here, you can edit all these." No. Prabhupada, from Krishna's perspective, or for those who are pure devotees, who really relish pure love of God, there was no need for editing. All his apparent literal grammatical mistakes were perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Because it was absolute. Yes? Even if the English was wrong, even if the spelling was wrong, it was infinitely more correct than the English in any English grammar book. Written by the greatest PhD scholars. Why? Because his intention is simply to glorify Krishna. But still, for the sake of other people, to make it more accessible, he had these brand new devotees begin editing it. And because it was under his instruction, the perfection of it was retained, but in a form that was more accessible to people on a material platform. So Govinda, he wanted to show us this. Or we should say Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to teach the world through the pure love of his devotee. That the essence of the importance of whatever ritual or whatever tradition we may be following is our service attitude. It is our humble desire to please the Lord. It's not the thing. It's the spirit that the Lord accepts. And all of our traditions and all of our rituals and everything else, the purpose of them is to cultivate that spirit of servitude. Govinda simply wanted to serve. And part of his service attitude was to never commit any offense to anyone, to any living entity for his own purposes. Just after this wonderful pastime, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees, they went to Gundicha and cleaned it and washed it as they did every year. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would again have them have nice feast. Then they all together performed the Rathayatra along the grand road in Sri Puri Dham.